So we're going to go ahead and get started and just share some information with you. I'm going to start with some introductions and a welcome, and then we're going to go through the program overview. And I have both Erwin Duenas and Dave Kriedemeyer from NRCS with us today to talk specifics about the program as well as eligibility, both for the EQIP program and the Arm Farm Recharge Pilot Program. And then I will come back on and we'll talk through some additional project considerations, things that FID is really wanting growers to consider including in their application if they are going to be applying for this round of funding. And then we will close it out with questions, plenty of time for all of your questions so that we can get all of those answered before we close today. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dave and Erwin, and I will have them go through the slides and then come back on and finish us off. So Erwin and Dave, if you want to take over. Are you there, Dave, Erwin? Uh-oh.
Yes,
Yes.
Oh, there
yes.
we are.
I was like not finding my face and then I wasn't finding the mute. So, yeah, hi, welcome everyone. My name's Dave Kriedemeyer. I'm the area engineer for NRCS. I work out of the area office in Fresno. I cover roughly from Bakersfield to Willows currently. And just want to walk you through some things about the programs here. And then a little bit further down the slide deck, Erwin will come in and talk about some of the more legalistic or the application process and things like that. So, Erwin, if you just want to introduce yourself, though, quick.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Erwin Duenas. I'm the district conservationist for Fresno County. Yeah, so I'm glad to be here. If you have any questions on the Water Smart program, on the EQIP application process, the timelines, I'm here to help. So we just look forward to, meeting y'all in office whenever you come in.
Thank you, Erwin. Erwin is he's a district conservationist, so he's the manager in the Fresno County office. So, um, if you haven't heard of Water Smart, there's kind of three different branches of funding that could avail itself for especially folks in the FID district. That's what we're speaking about specifically today. So one is Water Smart, one is the Recharge, and one is EQIP. So EQIP is overarching for all of it. EQIP is Environmental Quality Incentives Program, and it's a program that's been around for quite a number of years, and it's a way we can provide some cost sharing in conservation activities. The Water Smart program specifically is something that's in collaboration with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. We had to apply for, we being NRCS, along with the folks at FID, apply for special level funding that is available or has been available for the last 2 years within the district. Last year we spent just over $2.1 million in the district on water conservation activities. And the year before, which was the first year, we spent about $970,000. This year, we're hoping to have a number comparable. Those numbers, it's kind of up in the air for how things are going to go. I'm fairly confident that the numbers will be somewhere along the $2 million mark, if not more. Just depends on how much interest there is in the program. There's also other districts like Madera, Merced, Westlands, Tranquility, the Magsa GSA area, Tulare ID, and a couple others in Tulare County. So wide range there. These projects have to do with water conservation in every way. They have to be something where it's
Okay. Yep, I'm pulling it up right now.
Jeremy, you're not muted. Thank you. To assist, the purpose, you can read it there, is to assist landowners with voluntary conservation and water smart, the smart part, sustain and manage America's resources for tomorrow. So we'll go to the next slide, Cassie. Some of the things that we're trying to do is improve irrigation efficiency, how that water is used, obviously with the onset of Sigma and all the GSA activities. There's creative ways to do things, whether it's taking a open ditch and putting it into a pipe, or making a connection to surface water, including upgrading filters to take that surface water for drip systems, pumps, that sort of thing. We're just looking for better ways to use the surface water, not use groundwater, and then obviously avoid any wasting or non-beneficial use of that water. So we'll go to the next slide, Cassie. Like I mentioned, there's about 10 projects throughout the Central Valley that have access to this money. There is one in Riverside, but it's a real small one. I think that, of the things listed there is a for-practice efficient irrigation systems, obviously. So that's, whether it's replacing hoses on a drip system or a filter station that are not effectively doing the job properly. Obviously, we have criteria for what that would take to qualify for that. Irrigation water management, soil moisture sensors, and even flow meters are definitely a thing that both NRCS and the district are very interested in, making use of this money to get that stuff in place. Nutrient management, cover crops, mulching, stuff like that can be done. They're more of your atypical, what you might not think of as water saving type activities, but those practices are all available. And as you get to the field office to sign up, then they can tell you about a more complete list. Some projects that the district has done with WaterSmart, and this is more at a federal level. The Bureau of Reclamation directly to the district, not really grower involved. They've done some stuff with the Gould Canal and intertie their groundwater recharge basins a couple years ago. NRCS was, I think it was actually just last summer, 24. We were instrumental in helping them get a couple big groundwater recharge basins out near Kerman. This year, we've got a project that's going to, on the books, we're replacing 5 different sections of line that are pretty old and leaking. And so improvement projects like that, that's what avails us then to be able to go to the Bureau of Reclamation and ask for grower monies that go the next level below the district type projects. So irrigation water management, again, that's like installing soil moisture sensors, micro irrigation systems, whether it's micro irrigation from the standpoint of upgrading it from the hoses and the filters, or drip tape, a whole new system, any of that. Pipelines, specifically pipelines that connect to surface waters and pumps, variable frequency drives, if those are applicable, flow meters, and soil moisture sensors. Soil moisture sensors really fit back under irrigation water management as far as NRCS is concerned. So stepping 2, I think Cassie will move through and then take questions at the end. And
That's
then,
right.
So, okay, groundwater recharge program. This is a pilot program. It has been for the last several years. And it's basically intended to take some of those winter flows and allow those to recharge the aquifers. So we've had this project or pilot project open in Madera, Chowchilla, Madera, Fresno, and Tulare irrigation districts. And we've seen some success. The most success we've seen with it has been in Madera County because that district delivers more winter flows. We have done some with some recharge basins in Fresno, Madera, Fresno counties so far. And then also the on-farm recharge. There has been some success in the Fresno irrigation district with doing that. It's in addition to what is ET. So we'll get to it in a minute on the slide about the different payment levels. But really, to call it recharge, we require a minimum of 12 inches beyond 12 inches of water applied that is intended directly to go into the groundwater. So when you're applying during an irrigation season, you can put more water on than the crop needs, and we do look at that as kind of a balance for that time period. So it makes it a little more difficult because the district doesn't deliver in the winter, but we have kind of worked out a way where we can make it work. Some of the things that are required, though, there's a website that we check to make sure your ground is suitable. If it comes up that it's not suitable and you still think you have a case for it, we will send someone out to do some soil investigation and see whether or not we can override that. Actually, the on-farm recharge, which is basically taking cropland and applying floodwaters to it, or that extra irrigation water, is it's intended to be only on ag land. It has to have, again, the right soil characteristics. There needs to be, as the standard's written up, there needs to be some sort of a well. It doesn't have to be a monitoring well, but a well for monitoring within, I believe it's a half mile, and then also an access source for the water. What I was going to say is that the pilot for the on-farm recharge is reaching a point where it's not going to be a pilot no more, so it would be hopefully opened up and availed within the next year for any place, whether that's Five Points or Reedley or Orange Cove or something like that. So there's two different kinds of basins or recharge basins. The district, if you guys follow the newsletter and whatnot from the FID, you see a lot of talk about this over the years. There's two different kinds, and the one we're mostly into is the on-farm basin. It's not a trench. Not that it can't be a trench, but we have not done any of those. But the kinds of things we pay for, we don't necessarily pay for, we pay for the number of acre feet that basin can hold with a freeboard amount that's for safety purposes. We pay for the structures, the inlet structures, the outlet structures, flow meters, rock around the outlet structure so it doesn't erode, and that sort of thing. But the payment is such that for the basin proper, we don't pay by the yard. We pay by that number of acre feet stored, and we'll get to the numbers in a minute here. Typically, we try to have pre-treatment. We have not used the coagulants. That is an option, but we haven't used those. The sediment basin is typically what we go for, and so that's a sacrificial area of the bigger basin that is a little deeper, and the intention is that the sediments would settle out there. So that becomes part of the storage, not really a payable separate item or anything like that. For on-farm recharge, we will pay for pipelines, pumps, that sort of thing to convey the water from a district source out to the field for the purpose of recharge. The water control, the diversion dikes and landscaping is, excuse me, a little more tricky. intention is that if you're going to flood a 40-acre block of almonds, that you got to contain it within so it doesn't get out on the neighbor's property or the road. So part of the requirements. All right, next slide. Yeah, and those are things that we can pay for. So on a recharge basin, as the first example there, we pay for $4.21 per cubic yard of excavated materials to construct that trench. And I wouldn't think of it as a trench with just vertical, like putting a pipeline in a trench, but I would think of it more like a ditch with slope sides. But it can be more linear than, say, square or rectangular as a basin. For the basins, this is the 2025 cost share that we offered. The 26 numbers are not out and have not been released yet. But in 2026 or 2025, we put a price of $4,100 and basically $87 per acre foot of storage capacity for ponds that were less than 10 acre feet. So a 5-acre basin would come out over close to $21,000. Similarly, if the basin is larger than 10 acre feet of storage, there's a little higher rate, 4,475 appreciably. And so a 20-acre basin would be at 89,000. Now, in addition to those fees right there for that, we would still pay for a pump if it was needed, a pipeline, water control structures, flow meters, and rock. And, potentially, depending upon where it's at, a fence. A fence isn't necessarily going to keep out somebody that has the intention of getting in, but it does, for liability purposes, provide kind of a barrier that if somebody does get in there and get hurt or something, the government and or the district and or the owner are not then as liable, I guess. And then the on-farm recharge, these again are 25 fiscal year 25 year rates. $121 per acre foot on the lesser, and that would be up to 1 acre foot or 1 12-inch application over in addition to ET. Or if it was more than that, if it was over 2.5 acre feet per acre, then that would be a higher rate of $200 per acre. And so just kind of as an example of where it stands. And as the asterisk says there, in the event that it's a dry year and there's not waters available, there's no penalty for not having performed that. It's more of a management practice that's an opportunity, but we realize that, if there's no water, we don't expect somebody to go on the market and buy water to bring it in for that purpose. I'm going to let Erwin take over on this part, and then I'll come back around for questions.
Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dave. Go ahead, Cassie.
No, I was just saying thank you, Dave, and take it away, Erwin.
Okay. I know you guys posted some messages in the message box here. Hopefully that answered your question. As far as this slide, the timelines for the EQIP and WaterSmart programs, we have a new deadline for January 15th, as you can see here. And, one of the most important things that I tell everyone, even across other offices, it's very important to try to make it at least 1 week prior to that January 15th deadline. We're still going to help you out, but you want to have all your documents ready, eligibility ready before that time. So after the application deadline, normally it takes about a month to where we have to submit, our application screenings. And this probably goes more for the general applications. So this is the time where we're going to start ranking applications up until maybe 3 months into it. So right here on the timeline, you're going to see spring 2026 NRCS plans and ranks. A month after that, you'll see selections coming in. so late spring. And during this time, we do get a lot of calls. Hey, did I get picked up? Did we get selected for funding? Just be patient and just shoot for late spring. As far as the Water Smart programs, you have more of a chance to qualify for the funding, right? It's not always 100%. Keep that in mind, but the chances are very, very good with the Water Smart. After we know the names that got selected for funding, we typically call those folks. We send them a letter and we call them, letting them know that they got selected for funding and if they want to continue with the programs. Because there are times that, a customer says, they want to apply for a program and later on, they need to install a system. So they complete the project before then and they don't qualify for the program no more. So make sure anything that you ask for on these applications, you don't do it until you got selected for funding. Unless you got an emergency situation and you got to do it, and then we have to cancel the application later in the future. So now you got a contract, and our obligation time is towards the end of September or the beginning of September. So our job is to try to get you this contract put together, hopefully before September. It might take us 1 or 2 months just because of the high volume of contracts that we're trying to create. But just be patient with us. This is it's going to be done before the end of September for sure, right? But if you have any questions on this, we'll wait till the end and you can shoot me any questions. Next slide is. Okay, so this is your main application form, CPA 1200. This is only one form as part of the packet, right? Every document that you see here is part of the packet. On the 1200 form, it's going to ask you a series of questions from eligibility to the type of land you have, whether it's private, do you own it, do you lease it? If you own the property, you're gonna have a deed on file with FSA. We're gonna be able to retrieve that. If you do not own, if you do not own and you lease the land, we're probably gonna ask for additional documentation, letting us know that the owner is letting you install practices, projects on their property. So we have two things for that one. We have a form for that, and that's a landowner agreement. And we also request a letter sometimes. It depends on the situation. Okay, so going back to the 1200 here, it's going to ask you for your entity name or individual name. You want to apply as you applied in FSA, Farm Service Agency. You want to make things easier for yourself. So just keep it the same all across the packet. If you have any questions, just let us know. Most of our applications, or pretty much all of them, any type of project, we require some kind of a deliverable or, like right here, we have the conservation plan. We require system quote and the design for irrigation project, whether it's a pipeline, you're putting soil moisture sensors or an irrigation system. The engineer needs to look at the components on that quote, and they need to know where things are on that design, right? So with that, we want our producers, our customers, to know where these things are going. If you have something in mind that you want to put the soil moisture sensor and telemetry reader in a certain part of the property, you let us know. All those things are going to help down the line. The next big thing is the AGI, adjusted gross income. That form gets renewed every year. So that is something that we're still awaiting. It basically looks the same every year, but they change a couple things. And, the IRS wants the most updated form. Remember, IRS looks at that, not us, not FSA. FSA just processes it for you. You wanna make sure you select the right criteria, and then we send it off. The next big thing, if you've never applied with us, you want to give us a new SF 1199, a direct deposit form. You have two options. You can take it to your bank and they'll fill it out for you, with your checking account, saving account, routing number. Or the easiest and fastest thing is to attach a blank check, and write void cross it off, and fill out the first part of the document, and then you can give it to us. That's for us. If you have not, have a contract with us in the past, the new thing you want to do is a 1026. It's a highly erodible land or wetland determination. That one, you want to take it straight to FSA so that they can walk you through. It's not complicated, but it has a good amount of questions there, and you want to hold them accountable, for them to help you fill out that part of the form. The next one is farm records.
Email.
What they want for farm records, they're most likely going to need a lease or a deed if you never registered with them. You want to make sure that you do this as soon as possible. If you've already contracted with us in the past, most likely you're going to have it. But we have people that apply, multiple years, every other year or whatnot. If you have bought new land or you're leasing new land, we won't see it until you update it with Farm Service Agency. So a lot of people let those things loose towards the end, and there's some hiccups. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that if you've updated land or you have gained new land, you update it with FSA. Whether you had a contract with us or not, make sure they get that on so we can see it, because we're not going to be able to see it. The next thing is a 902, 902E or 902I. I is for individual and the E is for entities. So depending if you have a business or your plan as an individual, we'll give you the proper form. And with that, it all depends on the practices. We may attach additional forms just asking you a series of questions just so that we can do our plan a little, more straightforward. Next slide. And that looks like our location right there. I did put it in the chat, and also, I guess this is a more direct line to the office, 559-490-8039. We do have 3 planners there. Anybody there can help you set up an appointment. Even I can help you. If you have more questions, you can, just call for me, Erwin, and I'll come out to help you. The most important thing is check in with us. If you've already registered, good, just check in. We'll probably set up an appointment. If you're doing this for the first time, go to FSA first, get your land updated, registered, then come to us. We're going to ship you off with an application packet. You can do it in your car, you can do it there, complete it, turn it in right then and there. But eligibility comes first. Without that, we can't really move forward with putting anything on the system. So keep that in mind. And I think, that's it for that part.
Yeah, thanks, Erwin. And I just wanted to emphasize a couple of things that Erwin said. One is that FSA is very in the same general location. So there's a benefit there, and just really emphasize the need to get the FSA portion, making sure that the property has an FSA number associated with it, done as quickly as possible. I mean, you can start that even, before you start your application, because that tends to be one of the major hiccups when people are applying and trying to get approved for funding. So really appreciate, this is just an overview slide of the groundwater recharge pilot program. This particular slide is on our website. We've updated our website, the Fresno Irrigation website, with all of the latest and greatest information, including whatever updated forms we have, updates to their flyers on both the EQIP program and the groundwater recharge pilot program. The other thing I really want to emphasize is this is really a unique opportunity for FID landowners that are wanting to make improvements on their individual parcels, because a lot of time, in general, when you apply for these types of funds, you're competing against the entire universe, the entire nation that's applying for EQIP funding. But because we were identified as a priority area, you're really only competing against your neighbors and your fellow landowners within Fresno Irrigation District. So we're really trying to emphasize the importance of these funds and making them available to FID landowners. And as Dave pointed out at the beginning of the webinar, we've been really successful with getting funds into your hands to make these types of improvements that help us achieve our long-term goals as it relates to sustainability and water conservation. So I really appreciate Erwin and Dave being here today to step through the process and share some more information. There are a couple of other things I wanted to share. I don't think I introduced myself, but I'm Cassie Chahan. I'm a special project manager with the Fresno Irrigation District. I'm also the North Kings GSA executive officer. So I have a dual role. And I'm joined by FID's Assistant General Manager of Operations, Adam Clays, who's also on the line and can help with answering any questions. But because of this unique opportunity for FID landowners, there's a few things that we wanted you to think about as you're putting your application together, because you could include multiple practices in your application. It doesn't have to be a single meter or a single flow sensor, soil moisture sensor. It can be multiple things. So if you're going to apply and put in an application, we're encouraging you to also think about putting a meter on your groundwater, your agricultural well. Um, I'm going to go through an additional requirement for on-farm recharge programs just to make sure you're not spinning your wheels, and that if you're approved, we could actually get you water during the flood irrigation season. Also, maintaining flexible irrigation practices. That is something that the district's been really trying to promote over the last several years, because I know for many years it was conserve, 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 drip, drip, drip. But now, because of Sigma, because of the fact that we're trying to maximize the amount of recharge that we can do, we still think drip irrigation is a really, really important conservation practice, but we're also trying to promote maintaining flexible irrigation practices, meaning if you're going to be converting over to drip, maintain your flood lines. And so this affords you flexibility when we have those really wet water years to irrigate based on the conditions that we have. So that's another thing. We have a flyer on flexible irrigation practices on our website as well. And then lastly, inclusion of a soil moisture sensor if you don't already have those on your property. So we'll go through a couple of those. As it relates to well metering requirements, I just want to emphasize that FID does not currently have a meter requirement for groundwater extraction wells. That's something that we are encouraging landowners who have opportunity to get some of those improvements paid for through one or other, some grant program, to include a groundwater meter or a meter on your groundwater well. That just helps you plan for the future if and when there is a requirement. If that is you and you are going to apply and include a groundwater extraction facility on your meter, we want to make sure that that would be compatible with any future meter requirement that Fresno Irrigation District might implement. And so we've developed some requirements for meter projects that will help with that compatibility piece if and when FID has a meter program. So if you have any questions, these also are posted on the Fresno Irrigation District website. On the grants page, which I'll show you in a moment. And just trying to emphasize that if you're going to include this, and we are encouraging you to include it as part of your application if you're going to apply, that it satisfies these requirements so that you will be compatible with any future metering requirement if and when there is one. The other thing, if you're thinking about the on-farm recharge, we are definitely promoting the on-farm recharge program. This is a really unique opportunity. As Dave mentioned, it's about to get converted from a pilot to a full-scale program. And so this could be the last year where you have an opportunity to participate in this pilot. If that is you and you're thinking about applying under that practice, you will want to make sure that you make contact with FID's water master, who is David Burrow. He could not be here today, but I've included his contact information there. Location matters, right? Like when you're trying to get flood waters and or excess surface water deliveries, it matters where you're located. And we've got to make sure that your parcel is in a place where we can actually deliver surface water to that particular parcel. We implemented this not in the first year, but in the second year, we implemented this pre-screening just to try to eliminate unnecessary work if there's just no way we could get you water during the irrigation season or during the flood routing season, or some other considerations. So we were trying to do the pre-screening up front, make sure you check the boxes, make sure our water master is aware that the application's going in and that we could actually satisfy the requirements if the water conditions present themselves and water is available. So this form is available on our website as well. And we have this pre-screening happening before you submit your application, and then NRCS essentially looks for this as they're processing the application on their end. As it relates, I've already talked about maintaining your flood lines. That's an important practice that we're trying to promote. And then lastly, the inclusion of soil moisture sensors. It's incredible how much water this single practice can save in terms of water. When you're irrigating based on the soil conditions and how much moisture is in the soil compared to just a calendar and irrigating just because the calendar says it's time to irrigate. So we believe that this is an important practice that we're really encouraging folks to include and incorporate into their individual farms for water conservation purposes, for cost savings. You're not having to pump your well and irrigate unless the crop is saying, I need water. It helps with improved crop health and a whole host of other benefits that we see associated with soil moisture sensors. And I know I've talked with farmers who have put these in who are just surprised about the technology and about how much overwatering was actually occurring. And we're not promoting any one brand over another brand. I just put a couple of pictures on the slide just so that you're familiar with what these look like. There are a host of folks that can help. Most of the irrigation companies offer this. If you are interested in including this and getting a quote for inclusion of soil moisture sensors on your application. So definitely requesting that you include that as a conservation practice as you're putting your application together. Also, if you applied in prior years and you were not selected, you should contact the Farm Services Agency, express continued interest, and maybe ask some questions like, why didn't I get funded last year? Why, what was the problem? Was I not registered with Farm Services Agency? Did I, not get the required information submitted? Like, ask those questions because, as Erwin pointed out, the planners are there to help and assist and can possibly give you feedback that would help improve your opportunities to secure funding and get to a contract in this next year. So
Cassie,
definitely encouraging you to do that. Yes.
Cassie, it's they should check with NRCS though. Farm Service is like getting all your paperwork in order and that you own the land and have that. And NRCS, if you weren't funded last year, I think Erwin can confirm this, but you should have gotten a letter. It doesn't automatically roll over to being in the system for this year. You have to re-express interest in the program, and that's with us, with NRCS.
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. And like I mentioned, our website has been updated. So we've included the new application deadline. It's January 15th, but it's really a week before that per Erwin's direction. Don't wait till the last minute. That's part of the reason why we're having this webinar on Christmas Eve, because we didn't want to wait until the first week of January and not give you time to get your application put together. So don't wait. Early bird gets the worm. So try to get your application pulled together and work with the planners at NRCS to make that happen. As I mentioned, all of the information is going to be available here on our fresnoirrigation.com/grants website. That includes links to the application forms. It includes all the flyers. It will include a copy of the recording as well as a link to the slides that we used today and a whole bunch of other information, including the practices that we're really encouraging landowners to include as they put their applications together. And again, just really want to thank you all for joining us. We're going to open it up for questions now. We have another 20 minutes set aside for any questions. We can take those live, and either Erwin, Dave, myself, Adam, we're all here to answer those questions if there are any. And just really appreciate you taking time out on this very busy week to spend a little bit of time with us. And again, it's a unique opportunity, and I think landowners and that have access to this program are the envy of other landowners in other districts that aren't part of the priority program, and would encourage you not to wait and try to get your application submitted and take advantage of being in this the Fresno Irrigation District and the priority area for this particular round of EQIP funding. Looks like we do have a question. Joseph, go ahead. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So the question is for Dave, and the question is, Dave, on the recharge basins, if you build use the excavator around the property to create an embankment, is that both the recharge basin contribution and a trench
Well,
reimbursement?
so not sure this is 100%, so we can come back with a rebuttal on your part, but first of all, currently the rules are that you can't farm within a recharge basin. We do have somebody challenging us on wanting to dry land farm in there. That's not really established yet. So as it stands right now, you cannot farm within, like if you had a grove of almonds, or even if you're growing wheat or corn or whatever, silage, you can't, we're really not allowing you to farm within the basin. In terms of building a berm around the outside edge of something, obviously that needs to be something that's engineered. We had some guys years ago that they just wanted to go around and throw up a levee, and I said, till you do it how we require, building much of a berm is almost cost prohibitive. It's better to cut down. We're only cutting 1 to 2, less than probably 2 feet deep on a larger, say 10. We built a 20-acre basin. We built some 40-acre basins. You don't have to cut down a lot to get enough to build a levee. So, and we try to keep it as a cut fill balance. But in terms of a trench, I think that's more so like a ditch. Think of it as a ditch. And the same thing, I mean, we've had people, you didn't specifically ask this question, but we've had people that have had like a low-lying area, maybe Caltrans or somebody used it for a borrow pit, and they've tried to use those for basins. As long as the soil is conducive to infiltration, there might be some minor upgrades that need to be made and that kind of thing. But the fact that the natural features already lend themselves to doing this does not preclude you from still getting the roughly, in 25 anyhow, $4,000 per acre foot of storage.
Okay.
So we're not going to go huge. I mean, I think the largest one we did was the one with the FID. We're not talking about an 80-acre basin or nothing like that, because the likelihood of getting, I think, based on what some districts have done, Cassie could possibly speak to this, or maybe Adam, but you get into these larger basins when they're more than like 40 or 60 acres, they're kind of, you want to have more control over with smaller cells.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're thinking about. We have a 40 acres that want to split it into 220s and use a will trencher to dig a trench around the property. It's all vacant land. But use a will trencher to go down 3 feet to build that that berm, or that dike to hold in the water. That would give us at least 2 acre-feet of water, 2 feet height.
Yeah.
Around the perimeter.
Well, that's, you get into the nitty-gritty of it. We'd have to talk more specifics about your project, and I can be available at either meet you at Irwin's office or whatever to kind of go through some of that. But on another note is, if somebody says, oh, fallow land, we can just throw up a little, 1 foot high berm and we'll do the on-farm part. Well, really that's the on-farm is meant to be on land that is actually producing a crop now.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
not that you had that question, but somebody else might have had that question.
Yeah, and actually that was the next question, was that with the orchard that we have of a 40-acre block, can we put a berm around that just for farm recharge?
That's what on-farm recharge, basically, you're going to flood out there at a rate. I mean, because FID doesn't do a lot of winter deliveries or in a lot of areas, that's not really part of their operations.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably not going to get 2 or 3 feet of water to put on a field in one slug. I mean, maybe 2023 type storms and that kind of thing, maybe in rare occasions, but so typically you're just going to keep it confined within your property. If you need to put a berm up, that's not really an extra fee that we pay. It's for the price per acre. The 121, I think it was. That just means you're going to keep it confined within your property. And if there's a spot that's a little low where it kind of tends to leak out onto the neighbors or on the county road or something, included in that price is the expectation you're going to keep it from going off of your property.
Okay, and that's what the expectation, like 6 inches of applied
Well,
water.
whatever. I mean,
Yeah,
if you got a spot that's you may not need anything. In a lot of cases, the way they do it, they don't need anything because they
okay.
still somewhat have berms and whatnot or furrows. Um, like Cassie was alluding to, that we definitely are in proponents or we're in agreement that to maintain or at least somewhat maintain. If those old pipelines that you're flood irrigating with leak, so what? Because that's all part of recharge.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Sounds like you maybe need to connect with Dave
Yeah,
on specifics. Yeah.
I'll do that. I have another question, but switch to person. This would be for Edwin.
Okay.
Um, on to start the program, is it just the 1200 form? Is that I had a hard time understanding how do you actually apply. So it's just starting out with the
So,
CPA 1200 and say that we're interested and that
so
and all that information, but that's it. There's no like hard documentation of the overall plan itself.
yeah, so how it goes is if you've never registered with, with NRCS or you never applied with NRCS,
Hmm.
in order for us to recognize your property, to see your land, you need to have a federal farm and tract number. And that is
Okay.
only given by FSA when you register through them with your deed or a lease of your property.
Yeah,
So
I
you
got
start
all I
that.
got all this part where you highlighted right here. But what I was
Uh-huh.
still having a hard time understanding was the actual plan itself is not due, right?
Right. Uh,
I don't have that plan right at day one.
So no, the plan, okay, so I want you to ignore the conservation plan, right? Just
Hmm.
look at system and quote and design. Um, the rest of this packet is going to be part of your conservation plan. The conservation plan is going to include the quote and design in which our planners and engineers are going to be able to plot this on NRCS map, on an NRCS conservation plan is what we call it. So the only thing that comes from you as far as documentation is the forms. So you need a a quote, a design.
Hmm.
You're gonna need to fill out the AGI form, the 1199, 1026.
Hmm.
Those are all documents. But as far as a conservation plan coming from you, no, we build that together. And all this is included in it with our maps that we finalize on our site and our
Okay.
requirements. Yeah.
Okay. And that conservation plan, how much time do you need? Do you need that by to finish it by the January
Well,
15th date, or is that after the date?
So it's going to be by the date. Well, again, I want you to ignore the conservation plan. The conservation plan,
we
complete
do that.
conservation plan is gonna come from us. Yeah, it's gonna come from us.
Hmm.
You're just gonna worry about the application. It does not turn into a conservation plan until we sit you down on at the end and we both agree that we're gonna move forward with the conservation plan. So at the very beginning until the 15th, it's just gonna be an application. After that, we're gonna work on it. We're gonna rank it and hopefully get you a contract.
Oh, okay. That clarified it right there. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Edwin. I have one additional question, and that's is regarding TSPs. And do
Mhm.
the TSPs only get paid for what's listed in the fiscal year 2025 conservation activities, or is it any activities?
Those are going to depend on the fiscal year, and those are only unlisted. Basically, to answer your question, there's only
Okay.
a certain amount of practices that they're allowed to help you with.
Mhm.
Okay.
And you
Okay.
have to apply After you get awarded a contract, then is when you express interest in using a TSP.
Ah, okay. That clarifies as well.
Because that adds more to your contract, and that's really a payment for somebody else to do the design, do the inspection, do the certification, that sort of thing. So
And that comes after the contract. Okay. Thanks, gentlemen. I really
Mhm.
appreciate the help or the answers.
Yeah, thanks, Joseph. Any other questions while those are coming in, or if you have any, I'm just showing you the updated Fresno Irrigation District website. Has information on how to apply. It will has the information right now on the webinar, but this will be replaced with a link to today's recording as well as the slides from today. And then the program flyer that is associated with the Water Smart program, all the different practices. Here's the information on those conservation practices that we're asking you to include if you are going to be applying, as well as a link to the well meter requirements, information on the soil moisture sensors. I know we did have one ag provider that is on the call today that said they do this type of work regarding soil moisture sensors for folks. So feel free to reach out and start getting some information on that. And then all the information on the groundwater recharge pilot program, including the assessment form, the pre-screening form that needs to be done in coordination with FID. So this is pretty simple for those of you that have applied for grants, maybe in other programs. This one is probably one of the more simplistic ones, as long as you have your Farm Service Agency farm track number taken care of. That seems to be, having done this for now going on 3 years, that seems to be the number one thing that gets people, hung up and delayed and possibly not getting their application submitted.
Cassie, I have just a couple other things. I don't see any hands. So number one, just for anybody applying, please know and understand that the money that we offer is not intended to pay for 100%. It's cost share. So it's meant that, we're putting in a portion, you're putting in a portion. It's to help offset, the real cost of doing something that has a conservation benefit. That's one. Two is, Cassie mentioned that when she had the soil moisture meters pictures up, we don't recommend any companies as far as irrigation companies or brands or whatnot. However, the district being a little different, in a little different vein, I guess you could say, the meters that you're going to put in, we're going to make sure, we're going to require you to get concurrence from FID that any meter you put in is compatible with what their requirements are or whatnot, because down the road, they probably don't want to have 50 different kinds of meters that are throwing some accurate and some inaccurate data. So, but yeah, those are just three things I came up with in listening.
Thank you, Dave. Any other questions? I have about 5 minutes left. Go ahead, Joel. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you could summarize again the relevant dates, when the deadline closes, when the projects will be awarded, and when we're allowed to start the actual work.
Sure, I can cover that, Joel.
Thank you.
So basically, the cutoff for the applications is January 15th. What we want you to do is obviously submit that complete application packet before, hopefully a week before the January 15th cutoff. That's one. After that January 15th cutoff, NRCS will get another deadline to make sure that all of their applications are screened and ranked. That's going to take a couple of months. During that time, NRCS is going to get another deadline, and this is in the spring, middle of spring, late spring, when NRCS will be selecting applications. And how they do that is a point system that a system creates, right? That gives you. Okay, so that's the middle to late spring. After that, when you get selected, if you do get selected, we're gonna give you a call. Make sure that, and during all this time, you're not gonna do nothing with your project. You can't start it. because once we go to the field and you get selected and it's already there, then you got to cancel it. It's not going to be eligible. Anyways, once you get selected for funding, we're going to give you a call and you're going to let us know if you accept or not. If you do, you want to continue, we're going to create a contract. It might take us weeks. It might take us 1 to 2 months to create based on the numbers. And that obligation of that contract is not going to be no later than September, right? It's going to be before September. When you get a contract in hand, if you do get a contract, we're going to let you know, go ahead, take this with you. This is your new contract. Within 24 hours or 48 hours, we're going to give you a call that you're able to start your project, because we got to obligate basically the funds in the contract, and that can only be done by the state office. But that only takes about 24 hours. I'd say 24 hours. It's pretty quick. But we will let you know.
With the exception, Erwin, of cultural resources.
Right. And that's good catch, Dave. Culture resources is a more in-depth I guess evaluation by our, the archaeologists, area or state archaeologists. They need to go through an analysis. If your land has been farmed for many years, you probably won't have a problem. But if you're going to dig deep and you haven't been farming for a long time, most likely you're gonna get a cultural resource evaluation on your field. And if they do find something, the project's going to stop and get evaluated if they can continue or not. But regardless, you're going to have to wait for that green light, and that can take 1 or 2 months, hopefully faster. But we will let you know at the signing of the contract. And I'm not aware of there's some huge areas that we need anything on the cropland side. So, but it happens. But that's about it as far as the timeline.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks, Erwin. I pulled back up the slides, so hopefully that clarifies the important dates. And again, just really want to thank everyone for taking some time out. If you have any follow-up questions, you have the contact information for NRCS, and they're there to help. They're great. They help us at the district, and we're very appreciative of this opportunity to work with them again to get funds into our landowners' hands to complete projects on farms. So really look forward to all your applications getting submitted. And I also included Dave Burrow, our water master's contact information. If you have any questions on on-farm recharge, please reach out to him and he can help with getting that pre-assessment form completed. And just hope you all have a great holiday. And thanks again for joining us, and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you so much.